everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's podcast, we're going to be talking about all the new content coming up over the next coming weeks ahead. We'll be talking about the issues with hacking Disney Plus accounts, some of the issues that were taking place at launch and what were causing them. We're also going to be talking about our thoughts on some of the new Disney Plus episodes. And I think James as well has watched one of the movies. And we'll also be talking about Australia and a few other bits and pieces. And the new Pick of the Litter series coming to Disney Plus. So before we get into anything more, just a bit of housekeeping. So first off, if you are unaware, there are going to be some issues with YouTube starting from January under the thing of COPA, which might affect the What's on Disney Plus channel. You might see me start to make a little bit of differences in terms of how I do the thumbnails and stuff, just so that they're less kid-friendly. But also, it does mean as well that because of that, we do have a Patreon running to keep the podcast going. So with all the support from all of our Patrons, it does mean that the podcast can carry on regardless of what's going on YouTube. So a big thank you to Andrew, Diane. We've also a big thank you to Julie and Russell. Also a big shout out to Giuseppe for being a brand new Patreon at the $5 tier. So a big thank you. And also a few other people that have donated like $1 or $2. It really does make all the difference. It's excellent the fact of now that with this Patreon support, it does mean regardless of what happens with COPA, the podcast will carry on regardless and is self-sufficient, and all the support is fantastic. So I just wanted to say that there. And regarding COPA, if you haven't already done so, make sure you follow me over on like Twitter or on Facebook, or bookmark the website to make sure you keep up with the latest news after January. I'll be saying this through the next month or so ahead. And also, just a quick note as well, next week's show is going to be on Thursday for Thanksgiving. We are going to be talking, or we've already pre-recorded one that's all about us talking about what movies to watch over Thanksgiving period. And the following week we're doing there's another episode where we are talking about what movies to watch on Disney Plus over the Christmas period, because, well, basically we're going to be on vacations. So we've pre-recorded, so you've got lovely new episodes, and there's also a couple of bonus little extra episodes going out where we're going to be talking about a couple of different classic movies as well. So plenty of content over the coming weeks ahead. And then we'll be back to normal once we come back. But nevertheless, James, but a kind of quite a busy little week for Disney Plus into its proper second week, its first full week running.
Yep. Plenty of news coming out, plenty of information about new shows, still a couple of launch problems to sort through. But it does sound like most people are able to access it now, which is much better.
Yeah. I think we might as well. Yeah, we might as well just jump straight into that.
Let's go for that.
Disney's Kevin Mayer took part in a special event in Los Angeles where he did talk about he did like a 40-minute interview. It actually was quite interesting listening to it because there was a number of things that came out from that interview that he was doing. First off was the technical issues at launch. Apparently, they were all on Disney. They weren't about Amazon. He definitely particularly said it wasn't Amazon's fault. He said it was limits to the architecture that we had in place, which was apparent to us that weren't before. We ran into issues with the architecture and we're fixing that. It's a coding issue and we're going to recode it. And they're going to basically be rolling out fixes over the coming weeks ahead. One of the big ones obviously was that resume and continue watching bar being slowly been coming back to people's accounts, but that was like something that they quickly removed, I think, just because they were having problems. But it was very I thought it was good, the fact that they did at least come out there and be very open about that there was some problems.
Yeah, and I think they kind of set the tone there, because you need to be transparent when it's your problem. People can sense when you're lying or trying to pass the buck. And yeah, it would have been better if there hadn't been issues, but at least owning them helps build confidence. It doesn't make up for the fact that many people couldn't access it for the first several days, but you can at least feel better that they're not going to ignore it or say, no, it was your computer or your Kindle Fire or whatever that had the problem, which is important.
Yes, I mean, there are still reports of issues. They are much less than they were. I mean, on our Facebook group, which is now well over 60,000 people now. So if you aren't a member, join it. There's a lot less issues that people are reporting. There's still some technical ones. Some of them might be due to coming in late and things not went, there's always going to be little issues. I mean, Netflix was down the other day. That was down for a few hours. YouTube goes down, technical issues, but they do seem to be coming down. The big problem that they have had has been with people's user accounts, and then therefore they've been being blocked or locked. And obviously there was loads of reports, and we did it as well, and we talked about it before, about Disney Plus being hacked. And when I say hacked, it wasn't actually them hacking into Disney Plus. And this is what Disney said to Deadline. They said, "We found no evidence of a security breach. Billions of usernames and passwords leaked from previous breaches at other companies predating the launch of Disney Plus are being sold on the web. We continuously audit our security systems, and when we find an attempted suspicious login, we proactively lock the associated user account and direct the user to select a new password. We have a very small percentage of users in this situation. Encourage any users who have these kind of problems to reach out to customer support so they can help." So it's very key there. What this means basically is, if, for example, MySpace, they had a security breach 10 years ago, right? And if you're still using the same password that you were using back then that password is out there that people, and so what they're doing is essentially they've probably just created automatic macros or selling them, trying them out and getting in. And if they get in because maybe Yahoo had a security breach, I don't know, all these different retailers, there's so many different security breaches over the years that if you're still using those same passwords, then what's happening is those passwords are out there for people to get to, kind of people much smarter than most of us, to kind of use back information. If you have a security breach and you put your passwords in, they're selling those passwords on. And it's this kind of situation. It's not Disney's fault that people are getting into their accounts. And that's important to note. There isn't any security breaches at Disney in terms of that. There is, however, some issues that they could help. They did say that the customer service is not where it's supposed to be. People are all waiting too long. I don't think they were anticipating the amount of people contacting them that they were expecting. And ultimately, it's just very noticeable that people are just like, I don't want to call Disney because it's taking hours, and then they hang up on you. And they are aware that there are some problems and things will settle down. But it's important really to note that basically just change your password on not just Disney Plus, but on other things as well. Make sure you at least maybe change your password yearly, or I do remember when I used to work for a large telephone communications company here in the UK, where we were forced to change our passwords every 30 days. It was a nightmare. But there is that kind of thing of, if you work in big corporations, that's kind of quite a normal thing. But obviously at home, you might have had that email address for 20 years and still using the same password that you used then. So just be aware of it. I do think Disney needs to work a little bit more proactively in terms of maybe doing second verification. I know when I've had my Netflix account hacked, they were able to kick everybody off and everyone has to log back in. Doesn't look like Disney's got that issue. They can't seem to take off. They're just still very early in the game of what they're doing. In one hand, it's like it's brand new and they got a reasonable excuse. But then I also they then tout BAMTech doing stuff for 10 years, and you're going, well, hold on, you can't have it both ways. You can't go, we're brand new and we're still learning, and then go, we've had a company for 10 years and we're really well, no, you can't do the two.
So two thoughts on that. First, Disney does need to activate two-factor authentication, or 2FA, which is when you log into an account, either it sends you an email, sends you a text message, you might have an authenticator app on your phone. It's just a second layer of protection. It's been shown to be very effective at stopping external hacks, which is what this is. And in this day and age, really any digital product, we're talking games, streaming services, Amazon accounts, anything digital should have two-factor authentication. And really a company as big as Disney should have it. Not just on Disney Plus, it should be on Disney.com, Shop Disney, all their sites. It should be there, because this is the world we live in now, and a password alone is not sufficient for proper protection. And that includes if you have a strong password. We can joke about people who have password 12345 or Hunter 2 or whatever. Those are very poor passwords. But even people who have good passwords, either random hash strings, which is random numbers and letters, or using a passphrase, they can get hacked too. Two-factor gives them an extra layer of protection. Second, as Roger was alluding to, a lot of these hacks come from previous data breaches at other companies. You can find out with a reasonable degree of accuracy whether or not your account is on one of those lists.
Yeah.
Your email, that is. And the site that most people recommend is haveibeenpwned.com. And that's pwned spelled like owned, but the O turns into a P because reasons we don't have to go into. Punch your email into there. It will tell you if it's been involved in a data breach. If it has, change your passwords. If it hasn't, change them anyway. It's probably time.
I actually did do that this week myself just to see. I'd been flagged up in a MySpace one and a Yahoo one and stuff in the past. So usually, but it's just to be aware, really. I think I actually do even think with regards to this whole thing, if it has made me think, right, okay, that thing of, oh yeah, this is actually an issue that people need to pay more attention to. There was also just a lot of people phoning because they didn't know. They've said it themselves. A lot of people forgetting their password. A lot of people forgetting their login details, forgetting that they've got a Disney ID. I mean, we saw this a lot in the build up to launch of people for complete going, well, what's my username and password? You set it up. No, I didn't. You did. You had to set one up when you signed your account. But if you signed in with your Disney account, you wouldn't have put anything in, but you still logged in with something at some point. So many people didn't even connect the dots that they signed in. And they're going, well, am I going to get a letter an email on the day telling me my username and password? No, you've already had it. And people didn't know. People were panicking in the run-up to Disney Plus about the fact that they couldn't remember all their details. So I don't think that was good. They did say about the bundle, there was confusion over what was happening with that. And that's caused just massive spikes in contacts to them. And again, I put that down to there was bad communication on their front about a lot of this stuff that they've had to learn the hard way. It was a bit of a bumpy stuff. I don't think it was that kind of thing of, it wasn't horrendous, but because so many people were able to get in and be fine. But for some people, and I've seen it in the group, I've seen it in emails and messages, they still can't, they're blocked. I did an article this week and I figured like it was how to cancel Disney Plus, because I mean the Facebook group was like, what are you doing? Why do we want to cancel it? It's fantastic. It's like, yeah. But if you'd seen my inbox with the 15 to 20 people asking me how to cancel it, it was like there was an actual number of people that were doing the trial that wanted to cancel. So, and it's like things like I did an article about Frozen 2. When's it coming to Disney Plus? And everyone, well, it's not even. It's still at the cinema and stuff. And ultimately, there is still that thing of there are a lot of people asking sometimes very basic questions that you think is quite standard, but people like to know this stuff. But generally, as far as the hacking goes, a lot of it comes down to you and your own password or whether or not you've been hacked. So it's like, yes, technically, but the other big problem as well is like, Disney don't seem to be able to kick everybody out or get rid of people's devices. Because I've seen people on the group saying about they just randomly got a new member of their family on their profile because someone's logged in, set it up, and now they're watching stuff on their account. And like Disney don't seem to be able to kick them out, which is what Netflix can do. And I'm sure it's going to come later, but I think I would almost say they maybe like decided like we will fix all this later. Like we're getting this product out and we're just going to get some money rolling in and then we'll sort all this stuff out later. And that's what it's starting to feel a little bit like. Some of this stuff was, yeah, we'll worry about this later.
And some of it also does sound like, oh, we didn't think of that at all. There were so many things to keep track of that some things were going to slip through the cracks. I can speak, I promise.
Yes.
Couple thoughts on there. Kicking people off your account. It's not just worrying about if a hacker gets into your account. We know from experience for years that people share Netflix accounts. Might be a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a family member. It doesn't work out. Now you are two different people and your ex is still on your Netflix account watching all sorts of stuff. And you're like, no, get off my account. Get your own, you leech.
Yeah, but so many
I might be speaking from experience there. I don't know. Yeah.
It's also, I mean, the amount of memes and stuff about this things of like you've changed your password and then some random person message going, well, it's like, why have you deleted it? It's like, well, who are you? oh well, I'm like married to your ex-boyfriend or something. It's like, no. And they go, stop being so cheap. It's like, no. Yeah, so you've just got to be aware of it. I mean, ultimately, I do think Disney are going to have to sort this stuff out, but it's going to take some time. There is some bumpy roads. I think just in general, the launch, it's kind of quite nice in some way that we're kind of getting to that. This part of it is kind of done. We did see in Australia, New Zealand, and also Puerto Rico, theirs got delayed by a week. It's all launched out there. Now it's all available. Slight variation in terms of what's available. I think there's even differences between Australia and New Zealand, of like certain movies being available, certain movies not being available. So you might notice in the future of where we're talking about movies and stuff coming to Disney Plus, things like, say, for example, Coco or Thor Ragnarok. In Australia and Netherlands, they might have it, but Canada and America doesn't. Generally, primarily, we aim at the US audience because that is like the 90% of the audience that we have. But there are sometimes some regional differences, and we're going to see that coming forward. So it's great to see them launched out in Australia and stuff.
Yeah, it's annoying that there are delays there, but I am glad that they're starting to get the other regions out.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know yet what's going to be happening with the next rollouts. We know, obviously, Western Europe is getting it March 31st. Really fun. I went to see Frozen 2 yesterday. So went to the cinema, went in, and ended up, there was a screening starting in like 5 minutes rather than the one I was planning to. So I ran straight in, sat down, sat there, and then a big Disney Plus advert came on the screen going, streaming March 31st. I go, no, it's right here. Because originally I was thinking, if I go for the 1:30, I'll probably watch like a Marvel Hero Project or something while I'm waiting for the 20 minutes, just kind of killing time. I was like, nope, great. I was like, oh, a trailer. And there was kids like going, hey, and you could hear like a little bit of chatter because there was kids dressed up as Frozen stuff. I was like, yep, okay, this is good for Europe. If we're 5 months out and they're already advertising it now, coming to the UK in front of a Disney movie. I thought that was quite good to see them doing that. Or they could have just released it now.
I mean, they should have. That's another one of those things where you're just kind of like, come on. There's no reason it shouldn't exist in at least the UK. They speak English there. Most of you speak English there. Some of you don't. No. But yeah, I mean, it should be over there. I'm glad to see there's excitement though.
Yeah, it was just quite fun sort of sitting down and seeing it on the big screen of like, oh, because it's like the first time I've actually seen advertising like in the UK, because obviously we've not had any, because where you guys have had all that promotion, and I've seen it on social media and stuff, but there was no real advertising. But to actually see a proper advert at the cinema, which I thought was kind of ironic, because my wife turned around before we went in and went, no, I'll just wait and watch it at home as we get because you carry on. It was just like, it pretty much summed up the entire event.
I still haven't seen it. I'm sure there's probably a Disney Plus advert in front of Frozen 2 here as well. But hopefully it doesn't say coming soon. Hopefully it says available now. You never know. That's the kind of thing that slides through the cracks for some reason.
Yeah. So no, nevertheless, that's good. A couple of other things to jump into. If you are after some content on Disney Plus, if you go into the help option, there's a submit feedback thing that you can put in 3 different things if you want to submit stuff. Some of the submissions probably are going to be a bit odd, but it will give Disney data on what is very popular, what isn't. I will be completely honest. There was a couple of articles that did up where Disney confirmed via Twitter that coming soon would be American Dragon Jake Long and The Weekenders and also Corey in the House. They're all coming to some point to Disney Plus. The reaction to the Jake Long story was one of the most popular stories I've ever done in terms of reaction, in terms of how many people clicked. And then we're going, I'd never even heard of this cartoon before. And it was like, this is coming. This is it's amazing what people are interested in. I've seen numerous people requesting it, but it will, if you go in there and do these requests, it will kind of give that signal to Disney if there's a lot of people asking maybe for the same thing. Maybe we need to be able to get in there and request those Ewok movies because that's what we all want to see.
I don't judge. If you want something that's not on Disney, I realize people are going to give other people flack, huh?
Harry Potter was one.
Sure. Let's get Batman on there. Where's the Terminator?
Yeah.
It'll go with the Predator when that eventually,
Yeah.
people leading up to Disney Plus launch, we always saw the questions like, hey, is this obscure movie going to be on there? And then the inevitable replies of like, no, it's not going to be on there. No one would watch that. And it's like, well, the person's asking, of course they want to watch it. So yeah, put those movies out there. Even if, 10 people watch that movie, that's such a minimal impact on the servers. It's such a minimal impact on on the stress on Disney. Who cares? If it's not a movie that interests you, you're just going to skip right over it anyway.
Yeah. I think, Kevin Mayer did put on there saying they are planning on bringing some more grown-up content onto Disney Plus, but they also have to kind of balance it out with Hulu and stuff. But I think at the minute they need to start adding some bits and pieces. I'm just going to go into this because we had an email last night just before I went to bed, giving us an update on what's coming to Disney Plus over the next few weeks. And there was a few things that stood out. Now, I'm not going to go into the original or the standard stuff that we know is coming week on week. For example, like we're getting the Wonderful World of Disney's Little Mermaid Live is coming on Wednesday next week, which was like, okay, that's a little bit shortly after launch, but okay, not bad. Then we're getting Coco, which we knew about. Then what really was the one that got me was on the 1st of December, we are getting a list of stuff. We're getting Henry Hogglemonster season 1 to 2, Miles from Tomorrowland seasons 1 to 3, Sheriff Callie's Wild West seasons 1 and 2, Star versus the Forces of Evil seasons 1 through 4, which I know that one is really popular. A lot of people were asking for that one. The Lion Guard season 3, Expedition Amelia, which is the National Geographic stuff. I think we'll probably be interested in that one.
Yes, I will.
Garfield, the movie, that one will be on there, which makes sense since the second one is on there. Glory Road, which we knew about because that was on the system. Then we've got a number of different seasons of Dr. Poe, including season 15. We've also got Blue Ribbon Kids, Jingle Poles, and the Story of Dr. Poe. We've got Just Like Me seasons 1 and 2, Marvel Rising Chasing Ghosts, and Marvel Rising Secret Warriors Heart of Iron. They're all dropping on December the 1st, which I'm wondering if, like, on the 1st of each month, it'll be interesting how this goes forward with future updates, or whether or not they're going to do like that Netflix Hulu thing of like, okay, on the 1st you are getting back catalog content in bulk, because that's quite an update for just a random Sunday. It's the fact that it's on the 1st definitely is. I'm wondering if that's going to be a thing going forward.
It does make sense. The beginning of the month is a nice cutoff period or a restart. And yeah, like you said, Netflix already does it that way, where they dump a whole bunch of content on the 1st. The flip side being they also normally pull a lot of content on the 1st. We do know that some content will get pulled from Disney Plus over time simply because of existing contracts, but that should go away after a while. So yeah, just additions. But I would expect to see, based on this, that we will have content drops on the 1st.
Yeah, now I'm just looking here. I was just looking here at this Dr. Poe one because I was wondering if this might give us right. So season 15, which is the one that they're dropping in bulk. That one is the one going all the way. That one dates from earlier this year, and season 16. Then, so yeah, they did a season 16 over the summer. So it's hard. It's kind of strange. We can't put any details on working out what's happening with the future at the minute. It's still a bit hit and miss, but nice to see a couple of movies, more series. I think that's quite a nice mix. Maybe not quite as much as I was expecting, but I didn't know what to expect. This next couple of months is all going to be. We're just going to trial and error to find out what's going on. But it's nice to see that I think now that the 1st of the month we're going to get that drop.
Yeah, and if you look forward, I know we'll continue forward with the document here in a moment. The back catalog content drops are not exclusive to the 1st. There are some things coming down the pipe on other dates.
Yeah.
So why don't we move forward with some of the other stuff?
So obviously then we got One Day at Disney, which is breaking on a Tuesday. It's going to be a feature-length documentary, that one. I think that date is primarily due to the book coming out that day, that they wanted to tie them together for that. So that's why there's like a random Tuesday. And then on the Thursday of that week, we then get Thor Ragnarok. Again, that was because that expires on Netflix that day. So they are literally going, the second it's available from Netflix, it's going up onto Disney Plus. Then we're getting the usual Friday content. And then, for example, then on a Wednesday, December the 11th, we're getting Alice Through the Looking Glass again. I think that one is due to existing contract, but we knew about that one. And then just going through that's it in terms of non-Disney Plus original. So yeah, definitely looks like the first of the month is going to be a drop of stuff, little sporadic bits and pieces in between. The one with the Little Mermaid is the one that's throwing me off with that one. That one, maybe that one, yeah, it's like, well, should you have waited to the first, or is it that you're going to be doing them 2 weeks later? We're all in this the guessing game of how this is going to work, because I asked the Disney Channel put out this list of stuff that's going to be coming to the Disney Channel in December. I asked them, is this coming to Disney Plus? They then just said, oh, you need to contact Disney Plus. They then said, we'll be telling you later in the week, which we did. There was 2 documentaries on National Geographic this week that they're putting up on YouTube and stuff. I asked them and they confirmed that they're not coming. And I think it might be the tone, because it's like drug smuggling and bits and pieces. It might be a little bit, but there's still very much ambiguity between what's happening with how quickly things are coming on. But I'm liking the fact that we keep getting these updates every couple of weeks of what's coming. This is exactly what we need right now. And then we can start building up an idea of how quickly things are going to come on here from the Disney Channel and National Geographic, how quickly movies are going to start dropping on. Because, there's no mention there of Aladdin or the Penguins movies that looks like they're holding off for them much nearer Christmas. It wouldn't surprise me if they hold them off until after the second's pay, because I think you're going to have a massive lump of people subscribed on the 19th. So they're going to want to keep putting things like the week after.
Yeah. They obviously know that they're going to be an influx of subscribers around holiday times for obvious reasons. One thought on the Little Mermaid, that is the day before Thanksgiving here. They're probably banking on some family time as a kind of thing that you can safely put on the screen with the family while you're all enjoying, right after you've enjoyed dinner or whatever.
Yeah, the only thing I did think that was missing from the list in terms of new stuff coming to Disney Plus was they didn't mention Togo, which I believe was coming on the 13th. So they've not really got into any official information about that one yet. So that one might be why they've not mentioned it. But there's no trailer. There's only been like one picture of William Dafoe in the snow, so they might be holding off on that information. But again, nice just to see this information drop in, giving us an idea of what's coming up over the coming weeks. Answered a few people's questions. Nice to see some legacy content, and also just a little drop here and there. I know some people are like, "Oh, that looks really weak." So I don't know quite what you're expecting. Were you expecting it's like if they can't drop everything in week 1, they've still got to work some kinks out. But I was like, okay, that drop list was a lot better than what I was expecting, because I was thinking it might have just been originals on Friday, so the rest, and like Coco and For Ragnarok, so there was a little bit more there than I was expecting.
Yeah, and there's not much we can do about it. The originals will continue to be the reason you either continue to subscribe or drop your subscription. That's how do you cancel your subscription? But the back catalog is the bonus that you get on top of the Mandalorian or the Imagineering Story or the upcoming Day at Disney and all that.
Yeah, so we've got a few ones. We've also got Day at Disney coming in from the 3rd of December. We got a feature-length documentary. And then after that, there's 52 little episodes of 3 to 7 minutes. So we'll be having them each week. We also saw a new show called Pick of the Litter, which starts December the 20th. We've talked about this one in the past. It's all about, it was a documentary movie. They've turned it into kind of like a new series following basically training guide dog puppies. And trailer looks lovely. Trailer looks great. I'll be honest, I'm totally sold, because I used to, when I was a kid, we used to have and train guide dog puppies. So I've instantly, and you've got cute puppies, and I've got a personal connection to go, oh, I would kind of like to see how that works, what they do with it, and what's the difference of America. So I've got like a personal connection, which I know a lot of people won't be in that thing. So, but for me, I thought, look good. The interest wasn't quite as high as I was expecting on this one. Kind of, again, it's one of those really silly things. Disney give you something that's brand new and different. People don't react. They give you something that is established and then a sequel or a reboot, and everyone goes nuts. I can see the stats myself. So Disney are seeing, they probably see the exact same thing, but Pick of the Litter does look great to me.
I definitely am looking forward to it. I have a very, very small connection to it, which is they showed the sign to Dulles Airport, which is right where I lived up until a couple of years ago. So I'm like, hey, it's the place I lived. But yeah, it's interesting that if you're on the internet and all you do is on the internet, that's where you get all your news and you read the comments on the internet, you are in that echo chamber, you would think that everybody absolutely despises the sequel culture right now and the live action remakes, Lion King, Aladdin, and so on. Right. But because that's all you hear, like on Reddit, is how much they hate these things. But then they go and make $1 billion at the box office, and you're like, someone's watching them, and Disney is looking at that and going, people are paying to see this. We will continue to make this. At the end of the day, you can make any comment you want on the internet, on our Facebook, on Disney's Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. The one that they listen to is the dollar.
Yeah.
So if people are going to see these movies, or they're subscribing to Disney Plus to see these movies or these shows, they'll keep making them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very much the thing of they were talking about the fact that the actual last few weeks in terms of movies at the box office, you know, like Charlie's Angels, there was the one with Ewan McGregor, and I can't remember what the name was. And
the sequel to The Shining, though, right?
Yeah, and there was another sequel as well, which they've all just bombed. There's just the interest in just stuff is just disappearing. But then when something like Pick of the Litter comes out, it just didn't grab. You know, you can tell it by the views on the YouTube channel of the difference between what is established and what isn't, of what gets going. And yeah, you know, the thing is with the Disney Plus originals is some of them are really good. I mean, you know, you think like I think like the Mandalorian is in such a different league than everything else that's being put out. And it's like me and my wife were talking last night, because I kind of made her watch a few things yesterday afternoon because we were sat at home, and just like, so I put Encore on. She didn't like it. Put on Jeff Goldblum. She didn't like it. She went through with me on the thing, and she said, well, I said, well, I love it, loving the Mandalorian. And she was like, yeah, she said, but the rest of it's not very good. She said, it's not good enough to actually keep it going. In her eyes, she just didn't really, the originals haven't connected. She's just not, you know, she said the Imagineering Story is good, but she wouldn't watch it unless I was watching it. And I think that's the kind of interesting thing of maybe, you know, like, you take a step back from like the Disney fans, and like the lineup is, I think it's a solid lineup, but it's missing. It needs more. I think it needs more drama. It needs something. We need, you know, things like 101 Dalmatian Street. Where's that? Where we need a bit more mix of what's coming on to Disney Plus. The initial launch lineup is what it is, and they've got that set till Christmas. I'm glad we've got a few other series coming in, but yeah, it's kind of, I've been like, you know, when you're looking at people's reactions to stuff, you can see like things like Marvel Hero Project. That's not a mainstream show.
No, and this is the same problem that say Netflix, Amazon, CBS have as well. You've got the one or two big pillar shows, you know, Stranger Things on Netflix, or
Crown. I started watching that last night again.
Which one?
Season. The Crown, the third season.
Oh, I've heard that's very good.
Yeah.
But you've got one or two pillar shows, and then everything else, which is the bonus after the pillar shows. And you've got to have enough of these pillars to get people to stay, and then the rest that, you know, they'll watch because they want to watch something, and you can only watch The Mandalorian so many times, or, you know, whatever your pillar show, the Stranger Things, heck, even, I'm going to get killed for this one, but even stuff like The Office or Seinfeld or Friends, you can only watch them so many times without kind of injecting something else in. Yes, I'm aware there are people who binge exclusively The Office. We're talking about different people here.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I think at the minute we just have to be, you know, the Disney have to be aware of it. It's why I think once we get into the Marvel run next year, that's when I think it's really going to start kicking up, and when we start getting Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then that's going to end and probably then run into Obi-Wan or Rogue One, and then we're going to be rolling into, you know, I think once the Marvel shows start hitting, it will start picking up a bit, because at the minute we don't really know what's coming much in January or February when The Mandalorian ends, and they need something good. I think Clone Wars, the animated series, I think it's February, so that would probably tie a lot of Star Wars fans over.
It will tide Star Wars fans over, but one of the advantages The Mandalorian has had is that it has reached an audience that Clone Wars and Rebels and Resistance did not reach. And you've got that that water cooler talk, the mythical water cooler talk, where people are who don't normally go all in on Star Wars. Maybe they see the movies and that's it. They don't even know that there are shows or books or comics or whatever, but they're talking about The Mandalorian.
Yeah. And this is, again, is it's not the fact of we're now, 2.5, or we've done 3 episodes of The Mandalorian drop, and that whole thing of the talk, the discussion, the water cooler moments, it's already showing it's working. It's already showing everyone's ready on a Friday for a new episode of The Mandalorian. Everyone's buzzing about it. Everyone's talking about it. The whole thing about the Baby Yoda toys and the merchandise all coming up in the few bits ahead, and the excitement over this and the talk of what's happening next, and I don't want it ruined and I don't want it spoiled, and it's like we are doing it week to week, and it is work. I know everyone. Some people are like, I want it all. It's like, yeah, but this is why it's working. This is exactly what Disney wants to happen is happening right now with The Mandalorian, with this weekly drop. It is because otherwise everyone would have watched it last week when it came out on the Tuesday, and they would have heard a load of people cancel on this coming Tuesday because it would have done a lot. This is exactly what, and it's working perfectly. It's exactly what they planned for. And like you said, it's got like Game of Thrones weekly moment, hasn't it? Yeah,
and I know we have viewers who prefer the binge format, but for me, I'm really enjoying the Friday is when new stuff comes in. I get to watch The Mandalorian and the Imagineering Story, and sure, I'll watch Forky in the middle there because it's only like 5 minutes long. But maybe it's a generational thing, or maybe not generation. Generation is kind of becoming a naughty word right now.
Yeah.
It's an age range thing where I grew up and you grew up watching the Saturday morning cartoons, and that's when G.I. Joe and Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were, and that's when we watched those. And it was that Saturday morning ritual and all that. And
it was really funny because I was watching High School Musical last night, and there's a scene where the girl, she loses her phone overnight, and she comes in the following, did you know they keep television on at certain times? They put shows up. It was just it was just like, I was thinking, oh boy, it's like, and I know this because when I have 16-year-olds that work for me in the summer, and I'm like, they just don't get, and I was just like, yeah, this is it. But this weekly drop is working. I mean, I know for me on a Friday morning, it's like download everything. First thing I want to watch. It's like I got back from the cinema on yesterday afternoon. My wife was yapping away to mother-in-law, and I was like, I'll be back in half an hour. It's like, go in and put it on. And it's like, she goes, I'd turn around and said, get used to it. 8 weeks. We got another 6 more weeks of me on a Friday. I said, it's a half-hour show. It's not like it's really long. It's like that kind of thing. Like, it's only half an hour. That's fine.
I was just having a nostalgia of having to watch Channel 3. That was the local channel where it would scroll through the channels and tell you what was on for like the next hour and a half or so. And if you missed the channel that you were looking for, you're like, I got to sit through it again.
I used to remember
I will
about cable.
Yeah, I will specify that wasn't a positive nostalgia. I'm sitting here going, thank goodness I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I remember doing that. Or like when you'd we've all done that one. But yeah, no, it's just, I think that is definitely working out for the best. It is working, Let's now have a look here at a few bits and pieces before we get into our sort of show reviews. Done that one there. Marvel's Runaways, unsurprisingly, is going to end at the end of season 3. Not a huge surprise. Kind of thought this was coming.
Yeah, they're clearly focusing on the new shows for Disney Plus, so not a big surprise. Maybe a little disappointing. Runaways was a decent enough show. I haven't seen season 3, obviously. I don't know how it holds up at that point, but I mean, with Cloak and Dagger disappearing after their last season, other than the upcoming crossover episode, New Warriors not making it past development and so on. the writing was on the wall.
Well, I think the whole thing of like Kevin Feige taking over control of the creative side of Marvel and getting rid of this TV versus like Marvel Studios thing and going all in on Disney Plus. I do think, like with the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, it would have been nice to kind of maybe that move to Disney Plus, and or maybe even come a new show, and those characters get to live on. Because I don't think it was necessarily bad, but maybe Marvel Studios looking and going, "Now we would do this a lot better. We're going to reboot them in 5 years' time." And maybe that's just ultimately they're looking, going, "Yeah, you did all right, but we know we can do better with these characters, and we want to tell it ourselves." And it wouldn't surprise me if in 5-10 years' time they go back and revisit them and add them back into the MCU for the first time. I
don't know. I would honestly prefer if they didn't reboot characters. It sets a bad precedent for rebooting stuff that's already in the MCU. It's one thing if you're rebooting the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, because they weren't in the MCU. But even talking about like the Inhumans, which I think we can all universally agree did not meet the potential of what an Inhumans show could have been, I'm not keen on them rebooting it because whether it's good or not, they already have it.
Yeah. The thing is, they can recast, can't they? They can kind of recast is kind of.
They can kind of, but there's also they have so many characters. They have literally thousands of characters they can draw upon. There's really no reason to go back to the Inhumans aside from the fact that they kind of dug themselves into a hole, building up how important they were, and then just forgetting about them completely. Yeah. That's a whole other issue. There's no Inhumans thing in the pipeline as far as I know. So
well, I think
they've talked about it. But
Miss Marvel might be a reboot. They might do something with them there because she's an Inhuman and Black Bolt.
Yeah, but they could also kind of backdoor that into she's the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. style of Inhuman rather than the lived on the moon and were betrayed by Ramsay Snow Inhumans.
But no, it's just, I think, it's kind of a bit of an odd one because obviously Runaway Season 3 is coming to Hulu in December. I'm still waiting for Season 2 when that drops on Disney Plus. But yeah, so that was good. There was also an interesting note as well. Disney Plus did celebrate Mickey Mouse's 91st birthday. They put up like a little video, put up a little banner, little links underneath to all the little cartoons and stuff. And I was like, okay. That was a nice little, like, one-day little thing that they pushed. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing there. And I quite like that. I like the idea of them doing little flashes, little things like that, just to kind of, the 2-minute video was fine. It wasn't anything amazing, but it was more about like actually the gateway into maybe watching, some classic cartoons. I thought that was a nice little touch for that day.
It can be surprisingly effective to simply have an indication that you're updating content on an app or YouTube or wherever. Simply acknowledging, hey, we know the app is here. There's new stuff coming. And here we're featuring some stuff you can watch right now. Even if you don't watch it, you at least mentally register, hey, they're still working on this stuff.
Right, so that pretty much wraps up the news portion of this episode. So now we're going to jump into what we've been watching and some show reviews and stuff. And we will do The Mandalorian last because if we get into spoilers and we know it's a bit more fun. So we'll do that one last. So what have you watched this past week, James?
First thing first, I finally got around to watching Lady and the Tramp. It was a much slower week. It was a less exciting week at work. So I did get to watch that. Don't have too many thoughts that were different than yours, so I don't think we need to spend too much time on it. My main impression, though, was I wish they had used real dogs more often. It was very obvious that they heavily relied on CGI dogs, which was very unfortunate. I think it would have been better with that. I think the ending was a little bit better than the original. It had a more closure feeling to it. It was enjoyable. I think I would have been disappointed if I'd seen it in theaters, but as a Disney Plus, it was great to have it as part of the package. The CGI dogs actually reminded me of something. There was I don't know why this stuck with me. There was a trailer for Into the Wild that came out earlier this week.
I forgot about that one, yeah.
And I remember watching that trailer and just being like, this dog looks terrible. Yeah. Why is the dog CGI in every single scene? You couldn't have trained a dog to do these.
Well, I think there's this kind of thing of they don't want to be like training a dog and like, the issues. And I'll be honest, because obviously, like, it Called Into the Wild or whatever it's called, could come to Disney Plus in about 3 to 4 years' time. So it's quite a way off, but it could eventually come to Disney Plus. And it does look like a perfect Disney family movie. Sorry. Yeah. But there again, it's that kind of thing of like, sometimes you feel like this CGI stuff is like, it just looks like it's always just like not quite on the same page of like, okay, I understand doing the expressions and all the rest of it, but I think I don't know. It's like I don't know. It just like feels odd.
I can understand using a CGI dog for like going over the waterfall so there's some things in the trailers. I read the book not all that long ago, a couple of years ago, and there's some parts where you're definitely like, yeah, use a CGI dog for that part. Yeah. But with the dog just staring lovingly up at Harrison Ford, use a real dog. That's not a hard thing to train. Yeah. And it was the same for Lady and the Tramp. Okay, yeah, use the CGI dogs when they're chasing down the carriage or whatever, because that can be dangerous. But there's no reason for the 3 dogs to be sitting in a circle, yapping away in CGI. I'm like, just use 3 dogs.
Yeah,
it's not that hard.
I don't know. It is that kind of thing of we're gonna. It's because I have noticing as well of like, especially like with some older movies and some things about that, and even on the newer ones, like you say, like Noel, there's a scene with the scenes with the little
reindeer,
puppy reindeer. You're looking like it's like I wouldn't say like with the Mandalorian as well. Sometimes you can kind of notice it a little bit more, but generally there is that kind of thing of like CJ. Just because you can do it, you haven't actually got the right. It's almost that thing of maybe the budgets are coming down and they're trying to do it on the cheap, but I don't know. It just, like you said, that dog just looked a little bit odd.
Right.
And I think the dogs are so hard, aren't they?
Yeah, I know. They're so difficult to work with. I mean, CGI, it's a tool. It is something that you use, and you can either use it well or you can use it poorly. And when you use it poorly, people notice. But that's why we'll come back to this. But that's why it works in The Mandalorian in general. Is it's used to enhance the practical effects rather than trying to generate entirely new effects like a dog.
Yeah.
And it works in stuff like Avengers Endgame for the most part. There are obviously some scenes where you're like, okay, that's a CGI Thanos and a giant army, but they play to its strengths rather than trying to rely on it to fix the problems.
But it was kind of an issue, I think, with Lady and the Tramp. It was fine for what it was.
The movie was fine. Lady and the Tramp, definitely a fun movie. Mm-hmm. Give it a shot.
So I did watch Frozen 2, like I said, at the cinema yesterday. So that'll be coming to Disney Plus. I'm estimating probably April, May, maybe June. But I think a lot of the idea, I think at the minute, maybe like 200 days or so from the release. It's going to take a few months for us to kind of get into that routine of when things are going to be coming. But Frozen 2, a little bit of a pre-Disney Plus review, was great. Good music. There's some really good, nice songs in there, especially one with Christoph, kind of like a very like rock and roll 70s, 80s style. That was good. Story, nice. I enjoyed it. I kind of came out and went, yeah, it wasn't Frozen. It was like, I know there's a lot of talk about this is better than Frozen, all the rest of it. And it's like, no, I wouldn't. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I think fans are going to love it. It was a lot better, obviously, than the shorts, but it was just more Frozen. Lots more music, lots more. It didn't feel like it was like retreading the ground too much. It was, there was no villain really. There was nothing like that, and it was good. And the cute little animals and stuff. But generally, as a whole, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was kind of quite short. The theater was quite busy for like lunchtime on a Friday, but generally good. I think it's going to do well. I don't know if it will do as well as the first one. I don't know, but I think it'll be interesting to see how the reactions are over the weekend as it builds up, because it's sold a lot of tickets. But yeah, Frozen 2 is definitely worth checking out if you want to go out and leave the house. That's the trouble. Why can't they? Because people are going, well, why isn't it on Disney Plus yet? We're still doing the system of like how they've been selling it in the past, but it will be there next year. Like I said, we're just gonna have to wait and see exactly how it drops. But so what else have you watched this week?
Before I say what, I just want to say I will be checking out Frozen 2 at some point. However, I do not want to leave my house right now because it is frozen outside. Literally, I actually fell earlier today walking outside. It's all black ice. So Elsa, leave Colorado alone for a little while, please.
Yes.
So in terms of other things we've watched, I'll just throw this one out there real fast. This is Forky. Forky asks a question. Forky's question this Forky, yes. Well, that was the other character in it. Forky, what is art? Same old. I don't think I'm going to continue to watch it because it's so short, but I don't think we need to talk about it. It's the same thing every week. It's Forky asks a pseudo philosophical question. It then tangents. He annoys whoever he's working with. They roll their eyes at him, and that's the end of it. There was a little less eye rolling. Actually, the Mr. Pricklepants, who was the guest this week, was more into it and tried to coach Forky, but it was just like, I am not the target audience for this.
No, I was watching. My wife literally did say to me, she goes, my nephew's gonna love this. It's just like because he loves Forky. But we're just like, short, quick, and simple. Like we said, we're not going to spend longer talking about it than it actually runs. So also this week I watched 2 episodes of Encore. I watched last week's and this week's. It's not as good as the first episode. It is. It does feel like I'm getting a little bit like. The first one was like, okay, I see what you're doing, and this is good. The second episode was okay, you're carrying on with this. The third episode goes, this could be this could be fortnightly or monthly. I'm starting to get a little bit like, I don't know, I think it's like 10 or 12 episodes. I'm a bit like, this it's feeling a bit repetitive of just like, well, you're all struggling, and it's like, okay, I don't know. There was nothing wrong with the episode. I do think it was. My wife thinks it's very poor. She doesn't like this show at all. I was a bit like, I'm going to carry on with it, but I am. It's going further and further into the week. It's like, I'm kind of 3 episodes in. I'm like, if this season ended now, I don't know if I would worry about any more. It's like, I mean, it's good. And I like seeing the reaction to everyone and the end bit at the same time, but it's all feeling a bit too samey. It's like, obviously now I'm 3 episodes in. Because have you watched any of them?
I have not watched any of Encore at this point. I'll probably do it slowly over time.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is like Kirsten Bell. In the one I watched last night, the 3rd episode, she's literally in the intro. She didn't even turn up at the end. And I don't think she turned up at the end of the 2nd episode. He was like, so you only turned up on the 1st episode? It's like, this is a real stretch to put, she's executive producing it. It's like, it's like, it's just, I don't know. I'm still, it's definitely sliding down my thing of like going, okay, I'm going to carry on watching this, but it's not must watch day one. And I've already proven the fact my wife won't sit through another episode, so it's definitely pushed it back. And I'm surprised because I thought my wife loves musical, but she's just like, nah, I'm not, this is not very good. So I'm kind of, like I said, week 1 I really enjoyed it, but 3 episodes in now I'm like going, okay, it just feels repetitive, which is not good.
All right, so moving on from Encore, I watched Imagineering episodes 2 and 3, which were fantastic. It continues on from the first one. The first one ended with the death of Walt, the questionable future of the Magic Kingdom, the one in Florida. The second one that they talk about recovering from Walt's death. Roy, his brother, pushing forward and pushing through all the obstacles to make sure that they could make it happen, which was really touching because then I didn't realize he died very shortly after the Magic Kingdom closed as well, or opened, sorry. But then the second episode also continued to talk about the Japanese Tokyo Disneyland, which I know very little about. I'm hoping to go there next year, but I don't know that much about it. But I did know that the Japanese welcomed it with open. They were actually begging for it to come over there, which offers a nice contrast to episode 3, which talks about Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, I haven't watched episode 3 yet, but I know it was about the episode Paris. I'm really interested in stuff because I've been to Paris a number of times. You recently went earlier this year. Back on the episode 2 thing, I have been to Tokyo Disney, and I only had the one day available to go to Disney, and it was that thing of, do I go to Disneyland Sea or do I go to Disneyland? And it was a bit like, well, I've already been. I'm going to the original Disneyland on my way around the world as I was at the time. So it was like, well, I went to Disney Sea because it was like, well, it's a complete replica, but it's mental in terms of how busy it is because the Japanese love it so much. But it was interesting watching it because they've been literally on the lines, wouldn't they? Like going, give them a stupid deal. They won't take it. We don't really want to do it. And the Japanese still bit their hands off to do it with a really bad deal because it was just like they knew that the Japanese audience was going to make them money.
Yeah, and it has worked out. We're obviously still talking about Tokyo Disneyland. It's still one of the popular parks.
Yeah.
It doesn't get quite as much press as the Chinese or Hong Kong Disneyland at the moment, but that's because those are the new ones. But also, it was great to... Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say also because Disney doesn't own much of the Japanese one. Hong Kong and China and the Shanghai ones and Paris are now all operated by the America or the main company. So Tokyo has always been out on its own. What about episode 3? What was that about? Was more about Paris?
It was about Paris. It was also about Epcot, and it briefly touched on the launch of MGM, as it was known at the time. Now it's Hollywood Studios. They talked about how Epcot changed from Walt's original designs, where it was supposed to be like a fully functional city, and it turned into more of the educational display, what the future could look like, and also adding in the World Showcase. They talked about how they wanted it to be something that people learned something from, which as a kid, I was definitely like, Epcot, we don't have to spend much time at Epcot. Let's go to the other parks. As I gotten older, I love Epcot. It's one of my favorite parks to go to just to kind of walk around and enjoy it. So they talked about that. Then they talked about Euro Disney, which would become Disneyland Paris, and how that was such a huge contrast to the Japanese launch, where the French were just like, no, bring your stupid capitalist stuff and throw it in the lake or whatever. And they showed, Eisner getting pelted with eggs and flour when he showed up to announce it. And
yeah, it is a really strange park. I mean, I do love it. But it's really suffered over. It's the #1 tourist destination in Europe. It has more visitors than anywhere else, but it's really struggled. So I'm really looking forward to. Paris to me is like almost that thing of like you could do a lot. You could do a full episode just based on the history. I don't know if you've ever watched the Defunctland episode that they did on it. There's just so much to tell about Paris of a part that had everything, but didn't. It didn't work the same way that it did before, and I do think there was because they just tried bringing America to Europe and it didn't work. It's like we all go, especially like the English, we go to America and we have easy access to Walt Disney World, so therefore like every person I speak to that goes to Paris is always like, that's nice, but it's not America. And that's always been you talk to anyone as well, all it will do, or it's cheaper, or I can get away for a day or two. It's always that thing of like, yeah, the American ones are better. And it's just always struggled with that comparison because, especially from the English point of view, we go to Florida so much more. And it's always had that issue with Paris. And they're spending a fortune on doing it up now that Disney own it. The biggest problem, I think, primarily was the French laws and stuff. But yeah, I can't wait to watch the episode. I might watch it tonight. Or I'll take it with me on the plane because it's I'm loving this series. This has definitely been the highlight for me. But I kind of like last night was like when I watched the Imagineering Story, I actually like watch it and I want to sit down and watch it properly because of the detail. I like to concentrate on it, whereas something like Encore I can kind of still kind of watch and do a bit of stuff on the website whereas Mandalorian and Imagineering Story I sit and watch with no distractions.
And just final thought on the third episode, I will give them credit for acknowledging that the launch of Euro Disney was not what they expected. They expected to just walk in, be the great American saviors, launch the park, everyone would love the park, and It did not do well. It was, of course, combined with a recession that hit at the same time, but still, park attendance was low. They were looking at it going, oh, we kind of screwed up here. They talked about the fact that the French expect to have wine available at all meals that you sit down at anyway. And they didn't, because it's Disney, and alcohol and Disney don't generally get along. They've kind of relaxed that policy in more recent years, but when they launched in Paris, they're like, no, why would we have wine here? And very quickly they were like, yeah, let's get wine into these restaurants really fast. And I mean, they acknowledge their mistakes, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing going forward of like what's going. I mean, Shanghai. They decided when they opened Shanghai that and I think that'll probably coming up in later episodes of. Should be. I'll be there, like next week. But that whole thing of they couldn't take what they did with Paris. They knew they learned stuff from Paris. I mean, they tried to do it in Hong Kong, and they did the kind of replica system, and now they're changing the whole park because they've now realized the Chinese aren't going there because they've got Shanghai, so they need to go to tourists, and making it like a replica of California doesn't work anymore. People want the parks to be different. And I think they're kind of getting that just now that they, Paris needs to start changing into being Paris rather than just being a mini Walt Disney World. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Anything else you watched this past week?
I think we both watched this one. So let's talk about Jeff Goldblum and tattoos.
No, I haven't watched the tattoo one.
Oh, did you watch the ice cream one?
I watched the ice cream one, yeah.
So why don't you tell us about the ice cream one first?
Right, so I've been selling ice cream since I was about 8. So it's been in our family. We've had ice cream vans. So him driving down the street doing that was me at 17 with my van with my music. So it did bring back the nostalgia, which kind of was kind of a big part of it. But I really don't know if I can sit through much more of Goldblum. He's really annoying me, and I love him in movies. I love him in movies, but half an hour of him, I'm like, okay, it's like he's just weird, and I'm not like half an hour is too long, and yet I'm really I'm like going into the third episode to watch and going, yeah, I was really looking forward to the series, but seeing him in as the Grand Master in 4 and then seeing him for half an hour in these episodes is just like, he just seems so weird, and I don't know if I could. It's just too long.
I think the real problem is that he does make the show about himself when it really should be about the subject that he's exploring. I think the ice cream episode is actually one of his best ones of the 3 that I've seen. And even that one, I'm kind of like, because I felt like I actually learned some things in the ice cream episode. I did not feel like I learned very much in the sneaker episode. I did not feel like I learned very much in the tattoo episode. So much of the episodes are just either him going, wow, I'm quirky and weird, and I've got this weird connection to tattoos, or my uncle was a basketball player, and it was like, I'm not here to learn about you. I know your name's on the title card, but I'm not here to learn about you. I'm here to learn about what you're exploring. And then the other parts, both the sneaker and the tattoo episode, at least 5 to 10 minutes of it is him going to conventions and just being like, hey, these people are really into this. Like, really into this. Isn't that so weird? They're into this. I'm like, can you give me something to work with here? I'm really not looking forward to when he does gamer culture or whatever in
episode 4.
And not because I feel like I'm going to be offended by it, but I'm just going to be like, I know more than you do about this, and you are presenting this in a really weird way.
Yeah, it's odd. It's very, it's like it's sort of like he's talking and I'm just going, it's gibberish. It's just I'm really surprised because I think like I want to think of Goldberg as like think of or Goldblum. I'm thinking Jurassic Park, The Fly, Independence Day, and it's like, I know he's an actor and he was playing a character part, but it's like he just got weirder and weirder, obviously, over time. And it's like, and he's there kind of, and he's doing it, and it's like, this means it. And it's like, that was just a load of gibberish. But I don't know. It was just really, really, I'm just finding it harder to watch.
It's funny because you mentioned him an actor, and it feels like he's actually not acting anymore. Like, after you watch this, you go back and watch his Grandmaster performance in Thor Ragnarok, you're like, Actually, no, that's just got Jeff Goldblum with some like blue paint on his face. That's his normal thing. Or you go and watch him in a Wes Anderson film, and you're like, oh, he's not actually he's just wearing different clothes than he normally does, but his mannerisms are otherwise the exact same of what he normally is. And just like, yeah, he's not actually acting anymore. That is who he is. And I'm not sure that I'm I'm ready to put up with quite that much Goldblum all the time. I'm probably going to finish out the series. I don't think there's too many episodes left, but at the same time, you know, if it doesn't get renewed for a season 2, or if they decide to change the format of it, yeah, I don't think I would cry too much about it.
Yeah, I'm just having a look here now. To sort of have a look, see how many more episodes we've got. Oh, we've got a few more.
Oh yeah, he's got 12
episodes. 12 episodes. We've got this.
They're only half an hour.
I'm gonna keep with it. But this is becoming a little bit harder to watch. I mean, I don't know, maybe because of Ice Cream, I was so much more looking forward to it because of my history with it. I think maybe Tattoos I might feel a bit different, but I'm worried, like you said, like with the gaming one coming up, of when it is something that you're interested in, it's like, oh, okay. But nevertheless,
I hope you like Tattoos of Jeff Goldblum. Spoilers: there are many tattoos of Jeff Goldblum.
Yes. I don't know. We're just gonna have to see. But it is a funny series in some ways. But yeah, we're just gonna have to see. But he's definitely kooky.
He's leaning into it. He's leaning into it hard. Let's move on from kooky Jeff Goldblum. I only have one left this week, which is The Mandalorian. I think you have something else to talk about.
Yes, High School Musical, the musical of the series. Again, this is now becoming, I would say, number 3 on my third show to watch now on Disney Plus. I like the fact that it's a drama. They are having a bit of fun with it. They are. It's just a thing is that thing of it feels like the only other thing really, other than The Mandalorian, that is actually a drama, and it's a story, and it's got narrative in terms of where it's going. You know, now it does feel less of. The third episode was much more less about like High School Musical. It was now like, okay, we've got these characters and they've all got issues with them. I mean, they're singing the songs and all the rest of it, but there was a lot more character development about what's going on. You know, like we've said before, with that the nice boyfriend, he's now showing his, you know, his jealous side, and that whole side of things. And I'm like, okay, we're getting now into like the teenage drama side of things between them all. And him, and it was like, no, I'm really enjoying this series. It's definitely now like you said, Mandalorian, Imagineering Story, High School Musical. Kind of strange. I was not expecting it, like I said before, but yeah, I'm enjoying the series. I'm in now. I'm in 3 episodes in, half an hour long an episode. I'm enjoying it. I'm really kind of liking this series now. When I wasn't, like I said, it wasn't really the opposite, and I think people should check it out. It's definitely, if you like drama and you like the teenage angst and like Glee and all that kind of stuff, yeah, give it a whirl.
I'm thinking I might have it replace Jeff Goldblum on my like first day watch, not you know, the Friday watch, the stuff that we talk about here on the, because we have less than a day to watch these before we record them, or you have a little bit longer than a day, but I have less than a day. And so if I need to jump into a show where I need to then talk about it, this might replace Goldblum on the list.
It's that kind of thing of like, you know, we have said, it's like, because obviously when we set up the date that we recorded, it was most suitable for us. This was a year ago of when and of course now the drop is on the Fridays, and it's like, okay, it does actually work out quite nice because we can almost prioritize and go, right, we need to watch this and this, and you can't watch all the originals, but in some ways now it's like, for me now it's like Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night, I kind of can't watch going through and watching things and just taking my time, because I know I've got all week then to kind of get through it. But like for me now, Fridays is like Friday night, Friday afternoon, watch as much as I can. But it's actually kind of quite nice because in some ways it's squashing it down into like 3 or 4 shows, half an hour a piece, bing bang bong, and they are so different. You know, you can't really compare Mandalorian, High School Musical, and Jeff Goldblum and Encore. It's like, yeah, no, I am liking the idea of having these things on the weekends and stuff to kind of catch up on. But yeah, so let's now jump into. Did you watch any legacy content? Because I didn't. I haven't had a chance this week because I've been busy preparing articles and videos and stuff for the next 2 weeks. So I've watched. I think I did have Simpsons on in the background on a few things, but that's been about it.
I had Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, but we're going to be talking about that in a different podcast.
Yeah.
So I saw that. It counts. I watched it on
Yeah.
Disney Plus, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Sorry, guys.
We'll have that tomorrow for you. Right. So last thing now, The Mandalorian. What do you think of episode 3?
I loved it. It was a really good episode. It was predictable. It's a very straightforward episode. I think most people figure out where the episode is going from the first 5 minutes, but it's extremely well executed. There's a lot of fun little lore bits in it. The fight scenes are really good. The dialogue is good. I enjoyed the heck out of it. This series just keeps getting better for me.
Yeah. This was like, again, I'm thinking, okay, this is the best episode. Like, this just keeps happening week on week. Going, yeah, it's better. This is great. I mean, I loved like the scenes like involving the stormtroopers, and like it felt like he dealt with it in a way that we've never seen in Star Wars, but it actually made the most of it. It kind of reminded me of a video game, a kind of a stealthy attack of like hide, jump in, take one out, take out, and I'm like going, oh well, this is we've never seen this in, because they're always like, bang on, there we go, we just shoot at you kind of thing of, we don't, these stormtroopers aren't really much of a threat. We can just stand here, shake the gun. Or this felt like he was taking them out. He was killing them. It was, and then we had that big battle with all the bounty hunters, and then we obviously had the big surprise of what was happening then. And it was just like, I just loved it. It was just like, this is such a cool TV series. You're like laughing at it, and I was like, when like Baby Yoda goes off and he's screaming, and then when he stands up and goes, right, I'm going to rescue her, and it just like, he didn't even have to say a word, and you just knew what he was doing. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's this thing where I said about him not acting. He's working out quite well.
He is. They did kind of foreshadow that he might lose that helmet at some point. I thought that was something they kind of alluded to partway through the episode. Obviously, we don't know for sure if that'll happen or not, but I'd be very surprised if it didn't. Going back to the stormtroopers, I loved how dirty they were.
Yeah.
Not dirty like minded or whatever. Like the stormtrooper armor is just covered in dust and dirt and all sorts of stuff, which really goes back to the A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, where everything kind of had that used, lived-in look. And also, you mentioned not only was it a better way for him to take the stormtroopers out, but the stormtroopers got some hits in, which was nice to see. It was like, oh yeah, they actually can be effective in combat when they're not fighting somebody who actually knows how to fight them. But
it just as a general, live action effects, it all just looked much more realistic. Just as a whole, I like the whole thing of like all the bounty hunters just turning, and just all the information we were getting, much more detail on the Mandalorian lifestyle and what's going on there and what's affecting them. And I must admit, I did I think there was a little bit of a noise came out of me when they showed up later in the episode. I was just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And I was just like, this is just this week to week. I was so excited to watch this episode. I literally just got in the house and like, I want to watch it. And like, it's like that feeling of going, we got a Star Wars episode like every week. I think because I didn't watch the Clone Wars in that way, I binged them. So it's like the first time I've kind of experienced this thing with Star Wars of like, and then obviously being a live action show, it's like, this is just so great. I'm just loving this. And I'm definitely more excited about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, knowing that she's the director of this episode. It's like, she can handle it. That was fantastic. I'm not worried about that series in the slightest.
Yeah, it was great. And you can tell that the series is being done with actual care and love for the source material, which is really nice. I'm going to, this isn't a spoiler, but I'm going to go into detail about one of the things that happens in the episode. Not spoiler. If you go back to The Empire Strikes Back, go to the Cloud City, Lando orders the evacuation of Cloud City.
Yeah.
You see this random nobody character in the background carrying was literally an ice cream maker. It was an ice cream maker that they turned into a prop, and he just carries it. And the fandom in Star Wars has invented all these stories about what he's doing with this bloody ice cream maker as he's trying to escape Cloud City.
Yeah.
And that ice cream maker, or not that one exactly, but it shows up in this episode where they give it a purpose. It's obviously not the one from Empire Strikes Back. They turn it into an item in common use. And it shows up in this episode. It's like, you know, if you don't know anything about the ice cream maker, it means nothing to you. It's just a containment unit, and that's fine. You don't even realize you're missing anything at all. But if you are in on that kind of fandom thing, you're like, oh my God, that's the ice cream maker right there. It was such a great moment where I was like, this is such a stupid detail.
Yeah.
But I love it because you know that the person who put it in there was doing it as a nod.
It's like, for me, I noticed, for example, when they went in and met with the main villain kind of thing, of like the boxes. That was the crate standing up next to him, because I remember the crates from, I see them in my Star Wars games that I play, the tabletop games, and it was just like, and in like Disney Infinity and Battlefront, and there's like little things like that, just a little bit of a set piece that just like you like know that's a look of a Star Wars, and even that thing where the eye comes out of the door of like that, just is Return of the Jedi, and it feels like this is part, and I understand it feels part of the original trilogy, which is what I'm loving. I mean, obviously we saw a little bit of a droid, and why he hates them so much. But there's that kind of thing of like, it feels like it's part of the original, and I'm loving that because that's what I grew up on. You know, the cantina. It feels like the cantina in Star Wars. It doesn't feel as if it's like, you know, where you compare it to the other movies, the new ones and the prequels, it feels much more like the original trilogy.
And this goes back to what we were talking about in episode 1 a couple of weeks ago. And also I talked about earlier in this episode or this podcast, the universe feels lived in. You know, you feel like that town exists. The people in that town have lives that do not revolve around the Mandalorian. They just happen to be caught up in it in that moment, or they're just in the background. But you get that feeling that someone has gone through and made this a world. You don't necessarily get that feeling quite as much from Return of the Jedi, the prequels, the sequels. They don't have that same feeling that Empire and A New Hope had. And this really does capture that, which is great, because now you feel like the Star Wars universe is organic again. Like it's feeling like, yes, there is a Mandalorian running around with a bounty hunter and as a bounty hunter, and he's got a baby Yoda, and Luke Skywalker's out there somewhere, and Leia's over here, and you know, all this stuff's going on. But these other people have their own lives that have nothing to do with the rest of that.
Yeah. And it's just I just can't really praise this series enough. It is everything I wanted from this series. It's delivering. It is, you know, I mean, Baby Yoda is so cute and adorable, and you know, you just, that it's just working. And the whole, again, it's that kind of situation of, they literally had hardly any casting. I mean, if you think of like, you had like the Mandalorian, Carl Weathers was in it, and the Yoda. There wasn't really, you know,
how do you pronounce his name? Werner Herzog?
Yeah.
The Imperial officer.
But he's barely in it.
He's barely in it, but he's good in it.
Yeah.
You know, he's got that Grand Moff Tarkin kind of like, you know, he's evil, even though you don't know he's evil. But even Weathers is really good as the bounty hunter broker. So
yeah, it's just,
no complaints there.
Just a really great series, and I can't put over enough of how much I look forward to each episode coming forward. And we still got it's another 5 more episodes to go yet.
I believe 8 is what we're looking at. And a second season has been greenlit. So
they're already filming it. So can't wait for that one. But let us know in the comments below what you are most excited for, and what you've been enjoying this past week. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As per usual, go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook as well, and you can join our Facebook group. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button on whichever platform you are listening to this on. Also, just again, big thank you to all of our patrons as well for your support. It really does make a big difference going forward with the podcast, especially with all the Copa issues coming up. Like I said, next week we will have an episode on Thursday for Thanksgiving, and then we'll have an episode the following Saturday, the week after, where we'll be talking about some Christmas movies. And then the week after that, we'll be back and talking about all the bits and pieces that we've been watching while we have a little bit of some time away. But nevertheless, we shall see you guys soon. Later.